Hi guys, Iron Cameraman here. After that very screenshot, it was officially made clear to all of us that sooner or later we will see the upgraded Speakerman Titan in version 3.0. But why wait, if we can already take a look at him right now, correct? After today's video, you will have an idea of how he will approximately look. And at the end, I will show you new information from Boom. So watch until the end, and do not forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you also want the Titan's return as soon as possible. Here we go. In fact, this is already the second concept. The first one I created even before episode 78 came out, and here's what is interesting. Part of my assumptions actually came true, namely, portable speakers, equipped with rings for movement, were installed on the Striders, and Speaker Woman got herself a hidden knife in the sole of her boot. This idea I borrowed from Boom's so-called leaked files, among which there was this screenshot of a boot with the Speakerman Titan's blade from episode 73. This design also reminds me of Chainsaw Man. However, otherwise I revised my concept after episode 78 came out because the design of Executioner Semi-Titan was strikingly different from it. In my idea, the tentacles would be used for throwing knives and, possibly, for using acid pistols. However, the guided in-flight melee weapon, capable of slicing even durable Astro thanks to a powerful energy charge, turned out to be much more effective in long-range combat. For this same reason, I refused the hidden jigsaw in the arm. The claws, it seems, also will not be used outside the TV Men faction for a plot reason, to give them uniqueness. As it turned out, now the knife model of the Speakerman Titan from episode 73 is in service with all Speakermen. I was somewhat confused by this because it appeared from nowhere, and in episode 74, the Speakerman was armed also with a new but different knife model. Most likely, all of this was redesign, the final result of which we, finally, came to. The Titan's knife with a saw chain like a chainsaw, as well as with an energy charge that increases its cutting ability. I also revised the design of the melee weapon. In the first version, it was a spear, equipped at the base of the tip, as I assumed, with a device necessary for controlled levitation. Similar ones were equipped on Camerawoman's plungers. However, Executioner's scythe, as well as Commando's sickles, do not have it. Therefore, there is no universal necessity in it. I also got a new idea, because of which I replaced the spear with Executioner's scythe, and later I will explain why. I also abandoned the outdated model of the energy shield generator, which occupied space and made the structure heavier, in favor of a new one, supposedly installed in the core like with Duchess or G-Man, although with Astro, for example with the carrier, we do not observe any energy shield generator. As a result, the following elements remained unchanged: shoulder portable speakers with rings, back ring, knives, spear, hidden knives in the boots, new melee weapon, speaker around the core, and finally, the lightweight Juggernaut energy gun. After this, I propose to move on to the new concept and its breakdown. It is in many ways inspired by the design both of Executioner Semi-Titan and of the Armada as a whole, because, as could be seen from the example of the knife, they can have common traits. This is caused primarily by production simplicity. It is easier to create one design element and then reuse it than every time create a new one from zero. In Duchess's design, for example, Scorpion's claws were used, and in Hunter's design, the sword of large TV Man. So, what upgrades might Speakerman Titan 3.0 get in my view? Almost all of them are connected with armament, including even the ring. In what way? As was shown by the example of Executioner Semi-Titan, through it one can transmit energy to the Titan. This potentially gives the Titan a new ability, which we, however, already once could observe: overcharge, also called supercharge or recharge. The principle of action is simple. The Titan receives to his back, thanks to the ring, an energy charge. However, since his body is not capable of containing energy beyond a certain volume, then it rapidly is released through armament and equipment, reinforcing them in the process with an increased flow of energy. It is exactly the ring that allows one to use this ability effectively, because the ally transmitting energy to the back will not be vulnerably standing with his back to the enemy, as it would be in the case with the core. Energy transfer also can be used for ordinary recharging, because even the core is not capable of supplying enough energy for continuous and prolonged battle. Directly, the ring gives the Titan the ability of levitation. Judging by the fact that speaker jets are not equipped with rings, however, are capable of hyperjump, it turns out that the ring here is not the reason. Apparently, for this function, the compact internal hyper engine is responsible. It is hard to say if it will be installed in the Titan, because from the point of view of the plot, he could escape in any dangerous situation, like TV men used to do earlier. On the other hand, nothing stops Astro from doing so either. However, they still prefer to fight until their very death. Thus, technologically, nothing prevents installing a hyper engine in Speakerman Titan. All the more since Duchess with a similar body possesses it. However, from the point of view of the plot, this may have obstacles. Of course, Boom may introduce into the plot a technology that blocks hyperjump, like it was with teleport, but how he will proceed, I do not know. Also, it is hard to say what possesses greater mobility, the old rocket boosters or the new ring. If we compare the mobility of Speakerman Titan in episode 65 with Duchess in episode 79, then the difference is minimal or absent altogether. G-Man also effectively dodged attacks, using supposedly more primitive rocket boosters. This leads to the thought that the rings perform a purely decorative function compared to the jetpack, and no advantages in mobility or speed from it Titan will gain. What upgrades might the core acquire? Firstly, a speaker around it and folding armor, borrowed from the Strider. In theory, a speaker of such dimensions in combination with two shoulder speakers could equal in power even the large speaker. Also, it is not excluded that it may interact with the energy of the core, attacking in such a way simultaneously both with sound and with energy. This is rather unobvious, until you remember how with sound, the TV Man Titan, DJ, and Executioner repelled attacks. Since the sound barrier can repel energy, then in a simultaneous attack with the core, it can, at least, accelerate the outgoing energy. This can be used especially effectively on energy spheres released from the wrist energy gun. Since its projectiles are extremely slow and maneuverable, Astro can with ease dodge them. Will the core acquire new attacks in addition to the laser? It is hard to say. Besides a powerful sound wave, it is difficult for me to suppose anything. It is interesting whether it will be possible to concentrate the sound in a small area, thereby increasing its range and attack power. This would allow, if not to destroy, then at least to stun targets in long-range battle. But the core will acquire folding armor. Similar armor was already equipped on Cameraman Titan. Paradoxically, it never really protected him. However, Speakerman Titan acquired a new threat, Astro Parasite. Exactly against it, the chest armor may be extremely effective and directly necessary. The shoulder speakers replace the stationary ones, built directly into Executioner's body. The advantage of the mobile ones may be both in power, thanks to the increased diameter of the speaker, and in mobility itself. An example of using similar ones we saw in TV Man Titan. In case the speakers reach the enemy, no Astro headphones will help anymore. But even without this, the speakers can perfectly distract the enemy. They move by means of the rings attached to the back part of the body. The back and head speakers, most likely, will simply become more powerful or will change their design, as it already was during the upgrade of the Titan to 2.0. The head speakers still can be used for throwing already upgraded knives, and they also can be equipped with technology allowing them to levitate and be controlled in flight, as well as to home in, similar to the claws of Watchmen of Doom. Thanks to the energy charge, the knives will, without hindrance, strike the enemy in vulnerable places. It is unlikely that a knife will be able to directly pierce an energy shield, however. In combination with distracting mobile speakers or thanks to trajectory correction in flight, it quite may bypass the energy shield. Probably in the palm, as also with Executioner, a speaker will be installed for repelling attacks. It makes no sense from a logical point of view, since the power of one small speaker obviously is simply insufficient. The only difference of Titan's energy guns from Juggernaut is in their reduced dimensions, and as a result, decreased power. Most likely, the TV men would hand over such a valuable prototype to the speaker men, especially since they already are capable of creating reduced versions of the Titan's own weapons. Considering that the TV men took a sample of the claw at the end of episode 72 and already applied it in episode 77, that is, after 4.5 episodes, the lightweight version of Juggernaut's energy gun, also could have been created between episode 77 and episodes 79 to 80, when we will be presented first with the Titan teaser, and then with his return to the battlefield. However, it is not worth excluding that the Titan still will get blasters of the episode 69 model, or already their third version. There is also a probability that as the base of the blaster will be taken the sample of the energy gun. In that case, it will combine both power and rate of fire. As the new main melee weapon, there may act a scythe, similar to executioners. At first glance, it looks unoriginal. However, in melee weapons of the Speakermen, there is an important feature, taking into account which I chose the weapon. This feature is the ability to combine and split the weapon into two. Double scythes have significantly increased distance of hitting in close combat, reducing the risks of receiving return damage, as it was in the fight of the TV Man Titan with Juggernaut. The circular trajectory of movement of the double-sided scythe in flight also increases the radius of hitting. Using two scythes separately is more effective, complicating dodging and blocking from two simultaneous attacks. Probably later both the Titan and the Semi-Titan will acquire two scythes each. The Titan's arsenal also may be replenished with a new development of the Speakerman, sticky grenades placed for quick access on the belt. And the last but not least innovation may become the hidden blades in the boots. It is unlikely that the scene from episode 73 will be repeated, however. It is better to have a weapon and never use it than not to have it when it is needed. And as for the new info from Boom, here it is on your screens. I decided, after the video about Hunter, to ask again about the arm for confirmation, and as it turned out, we were right. He answered, his feature as a character is that he quickly repairs and returns into battle, never allows himself to be killed. Literally, in just a couple of hours, he gets repaired on the mothership. I like that he answered so detailed, and just imagine how much Astro, Scorpion, or Juggernaut will improve, considering that they are absent for so long and they are on the mothership. If there is enough time and hands there for repairing small characters like Hunter, then the size and resources of the Astro Restoration Division are simply enormous. If you like the concept and the breakdown, subscribe in order not to miss the next ones. Appreciate the effort with a like and share your thoughts in the comments. We will hear each other again.
The Skibidi Titans have arrived, standing 2 feet tall. Collect them both. Heavy, massive, unstoppable. Own the legends, only at Costco.